Hello everyone, and welcome to another part of the Astroneer build along. We are continuing work on the calculator, and now this is not going to be part 5, this is instead going to be kind of a part 4.5, so to speak, because I noticed a quick little comment on the part 4 video, and mentioned that something was happening a little bit with the adding. So I went back and double checked it, and there actually is a little bit of an issue with how we did our addition. Now, if you are unfamiliar with this, because it has been a little bit that we've sent out some of these videos, essentially these are our carry bits, and when we add together, these are going to be our resulting bits that we then trigger our calculation for and then display on the calculator. And essentially what's been going wrong here is, assuming these are our input bits, say we have an input of 101, and then we have an input of, say, 011. Now what would happen is these two bits together would add together, produce a 0, but then carry one bit over. Now these two bits, however, would technically carry 1 over, and this would stay a 0. However, this is actually something that we have not accounted for. For some reason, we are not properly handling when you have a bit in the input and you have a carry. What do you actually do from there? We handle having all three properly, but we don't handle just having one or the other. So that is effectively what we need to fix here. And keeping in spirit of these videos, I am going to modify these on the fly so you can kind of see how I work on them one after another. And the way that I figured out the best way, I think, to do this is to basically break our carries out into the different conditions that are necessary. So we're going to need quite a few extra splitters here. We're going to probably need to maybe move a few of these switches and whatnot, but we'll get to that in just a moment. For now, though, I'm just going to set up what splitters I'm going to need, because I'm going to need 3 channels for the most significant carry, 3 channels for the second most significant carry, and just the 1 for this one. So we're going to need a total of 6 splitters. So let me grab all 6 of them, and now we can actually start, playing around with how we want this to be structured and organized and whatnot. So learning a little bit from the tic-tac-toe build that I did do in the meantime, I am going to try to make it a little bit easier to follow and grab the proper outputs of these guys. Again, we're going to have to do a little bit of adjustment here and there, but that's primarily what we're going to be focusing on for the short term. So bear with me while I just connect all these appropriately, and then we'll be good to go from there. So as I said, we are going to need to kind of move some of these around. So I'm just going to go for it, pick them up. For the most part, the actual cable pins should stay relatively fine on them, but when I actually move the power sensor, that's really where we should see most of our issues if we actually end up getting any, just because the power sensors can be really, really finicky and whatnot. I'm actually going to place it a little bit further down, just to give a little bit of space between the switches, for a reason which you guys will see in just a moment. But again, I'm gonna basically be creating our standard 2 rows of switches that's gonna go all the way down for each and every one of these inputs. And as you already saw, some of them did disappear. So I think it might just be easy to clear all the outputs and kind of call it from there. And we'll just duplicate the switches based off that. So again, we're just gonna get our 2 switches in every single one, because there's gonna be 2 conditions, which I will explain in just a moment. So once again, as always, bear with me for just a second while we get all these switches going. Now I am going to put all these in powered off, because the current state of the board actually is 0 for both of the inputs. So there's no real point in actually having these power switches being on, because it would just give us the improper operation, and we're not really looking for that. So again, making sure that your switches are in the off state is going to be very valuable. This is our 5th. Oh no, sorry, that was our 6th, and then these are our final 2. Okay. So as I said, I am going to keep these, I clicked on that by accident. Okay, I'm going to keep these 3 power switches kind of staying and doing the exact same thing that they've always done. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to condense the inputs back with more of these splitters, because the splitters actually act like OR gates. And essentially what we're trying to do here is we're checking 3 different conditions for carry, and if any of them are true, so one of the 3 different conditions are true, then we're going to condense the 2 of them together, and then we're going to make that move. So what I mean by that is, again, say we're carrying from this column to the 3rd column. This is a condition for carry. this is a condition for carry, and then this is the third condition for carry. And then technically, if that was off, that would be another condition for carry, which, we might need to deal with a little bit in the future, but for now, we're just going to focus on those initial conditions as a start. So again, what that's going to mean is that is going to give us our 3 different opportunities for causing the carry to actually occur. Now, the first one, because we don't actually have a carry bit, is just going to basically act as normal. This is exactly what you would expect for carrying from the 0th bit to the 1st bit, because again, the 0th bit can't have a carry whatsoever, so there's only one possible combination, and that's going to come from these initial ones as well. So it's going to come from these guys, which are our 0 bits. And perfect. Now, the next set is going to actually be part of our OR conditions, because again, as I said, we are going to have 2 different conditions that can be for a carry bit and then one of the operations being on, and then the other one is going to be for both operations being on and no carry bit. So all of these 3 conditions are going to be routed into splitters, because if one of them is on, we want to trigger the power sensor. If a different condition comes true, we don't want to change the power sensor at all. So we're only really focused on these ones. And so the initial one is once again going to start with just being our first place bit, because if both of our first place bits are on, we're going to want to carry, and then we're going to trigger our next bit sequence. Now this one, however, is going to be slightly different. I'm going to actually need to break these out, which I totally should have thought about beforehand. But anyways, let me just place some of these cable pins down just to, again, have access to them. So the next condition is if we carry from the previous column and we have one of our bits enabled, that's going to result in a carry. The other condition is if we have, once again, our carry, but we have the other result enabled. And once again, that's going to correspond to having our carry enabled and having one of our inputs, or having the other input enabled. If all three are on, this is already technically handled because both of these are on, so that technically carries. And then we flip the switch 3 times, so we technically do have a bit come through. So that is already technically handled, so we don't really need to worry about that. We are only focused on those other 3 conditions. And now, wiring up the last one, again, we have our 3 inputs coming together to make our last 3 input OR gate, and then this is going to reach to our power sensor. Now again, because these are about our carries, we're going to start with our condition where we have our 2 inputs as a 1, and then we'll cause the carry to go. The next condition is going to be if we have a carry from the previous column and one of our inputs on. And then the next condition is if we have a carry from the previous column once again, but the other input is on this time. And that should basically be all that we needed to do to actually modify what was going on. So again, just to reiterate, we were having an issue where if we had one of our inputs on and we had a carry bit, we weren't actually technically reading this as a carry, and therefore our mathematics were actually not working properly. So what we modified is, rather than just checking for the condition where the 2 bits are on, we are now also checking for the condition where we have a carry and one of the inputs on. And again, because we have one of 2 possible inputs, we need to check for both inputs possibly being on. So that's all we need to do. And now we're going to do a quick little functional test. So in order to actually determine like a good check that might be a telling sign to see if this worked or not, I believe what we could probably run is 1 1 0, which should correspond to 5. And then 0 1 1, which corresponds to 3. So 5 plus 3 should give us 8, and we can follow this on through and we can see what ends up happening. So this needs to go all the way up to 5. Now none of this operation has changed, even though it's been a little bit. All of this is exactly standard. It's exactly as we left it. That was totally fine. 2 and 3. And because we are in the spirit of kind of showing you guys how this ends up working, I'm going to go and kind of walk through what we've got going on here. So this is our first input, and again, we're doing our standard counters. So we have 1 0 1 because we've been toggling this generator, and then we feed through on 5. So this displays 5 and also goes and changes some of the bits over here. This one is 3 0 1 1. Again, we've been toggling off the medium generator. We're reading location 3, and then that's going to go change a few things over here. Now we have both of the 0th bits. As you can see, the 0th bits are on. So we have triggered a carry in the second column. And then the first bit is going to be, or the 0th bit in the solution is going to be 0, which you can see right here. Now, that's going to lead to a 1 coming in the next column. Now that 1 is going to be a 0, a 1, and a 1. And we can see that we have our carry triggered, which usually didn't happen, to carry the bit to the next column over. And here we see that we don't have it triggered because, 0 plus 1 plus the carry from the last column gives us a 0, and then we carry again. And now we have a 1 plus a 0 plus a carry, which once again triggers our new and improved carry system to have our 1 come through on the most significant bit column. So effectively, what we ended up having here is these produce a 0 and carry the 1. These 1, 0, 1 carries the 1, produces a 0, 1, 1, 0, carries a 1, and our output is going to be 1, 0, 0, 0. And that's exactly what we see here. We see 1, 0, 0, 0. Those are coming through right here, by the way, just in case you guys weren't super clear. And we can give that a quick little test. Let's click our button, make sure that we're getting our proper output, and there we go. 8 is our solution. So that fixes the problem that we were having with our carries being a little bit incorrect. This is, again, a 4.5 episode because I was originally going to start work on the negative column today, or the negative operation today, excuse me, but because of having to check out this little issue that I did see a quick comment on, thank you for pointing that out. That is something that I really want you guys to make sure that you do. If you do see a bug or something that isn't quite working properly, by all means let me know, because I really want to make sure that you guys understand how some of this stuff works, get a little bit of familiarity with it if you haven't done so already. And if something's not working right, that's going to hinder your understanding. So I really do appreciate it when you guys point stuff out like this, and I'm more than happy to go back and chat about things if you're unsure about stuff or anything like that. But for now, that is the end of the 4.5 modification to the addition episode. Sometime next week, I'm really hoping to get recording on the negative segment so we can continue to expand this little calculator setup that we've got going here. But until then, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day, evening, and or night, or whenever you happen to watch this video, and stay tuned for the next episode coming very soon. So have a good one, everyone, and we'll see you soon.